and those old bonds and those old ties, but 30 to 50,000 a year. There was a great hurrah last week from the coalition. They said that net immigration is down for 2012. There's cause for celebration. Do you know how many people settled here in 2012? Over 500,000. So we've gone from a country that admitted 30 to 50,000 people a year to being a country that admits 500,000 plus every single year. More people came to Britain in the year 2011 than came here between 1066 and 1950. It's astonishing, isn't it? I mean, it is a truly astonishing situation. Now, I completely understand why people from much poorer countries would want to come to Britain. You know, let's take Romania and Bulgaria, to whom the doors will be opened in just a few months' time, unless something changes. I don't blame the Bulgarians and Romanians for wanting to come and better their lives. I don't want to make them scapegoats for the way ordinary British families are feeling. I want us to focus our anger on the British political class who've given up all pretense at managing the borders of this country in the interest of our people. And I want us, going on from here, to have an immigration policy that is positive and open, but works on three basic principles. And I want us to directly steal those principles from another Commonwealth country, a country who I think have got immigration about right. And what this country says, don't spoil it by whispering the word, what this country says, it says if you've got a skill to bring and you're under the age of 50, you are very, very welcome to come to our country and to add, you know, to our economy. The second point is, by the way, if you have a criminal record or a life-threatening disease, I'm sorry, but we're not going to let you in. And the third point this country makes is, we actually couldn't care less which country you come from, what religion you are, what colour you are. That is of no interest to us. But if you come and live with us, understand that you become one of us and you join together with us in our Australian dream. And that is the immigration policy going on from here that this country needs to have.
Mr. Farage, I'd like to ask about education, in particular about university and immediately prior to university, year before university, and about welcoming international students and understanding the key element to this economy here in Brighton. How important, how huge this is locally, and how we need to encourage this important element, and we need to make these customers welcome. We need to understand, and I would like you to consider taking out of the figures of immigration the numbers of students. They benefit us in a great way. We need to acknowledge this. We need to be aware of the nature of our local economy. Please, I ask you all, as well as Mr. Farage, to consider this work.
I think this is a very, very interesting area. You know, I am pro business. I am pro the United Kingdom making money and doing well. And if foreign students are coming to this country, paying their fees, keeping people in work, boosting the local economy, not just of Brighton, but actually of towns and cities up and down this country, then as far as I'm concerned, the more that come, provided they're just coming to study and not coming to settle and everything else, the better. But the problem is, and you know it yourself, that so many of what appeared to be further education schemes were actually scams that were being used to operate to get people to come into the country and actually effectively, illegally become immigrants into Britain. Those scams have got to be closed. Now, I really don't know whether Theresa May has got a grip on this issue or not. But I would say this to you, if we get a grip on that issue, and if we make it absolutely clear that people are here for a time-dependent period to get their further education in this country, to benefit our economy, and to take those skills they've learnt back with them to their home countries, then frankly it could be a huge, even bigger money spinner for the UK economy than it currently is, and I'm all in favour. All right, with those caveats. I want to say two other things, if I can, about education. Firstly, we strongly believe that we are sending now too many of our youngsters to university. Far too many. I personally blame I personally blame Maureen Lipman. Do you remember the phone call with the grandson? Oh, he's got an ology, that's good, isn't it? Well, actually what's happening is an awful lot of youngsters are being sold a real con. They're being told if you go to university and get a degree, you'll have a massive advantage in the jobs market. Actually, many of those people going to university academically should not be going on to pursue academics. They're not advancing themselves in the job market. They're tying round their necks a huge level of debt. And many of those youngsters should be encouraged. And we've got to stop being so snobbish and stop looking down on skills and trades in this country. And that, I think, is important. It's really interesting, but believe it or not, my wife's a European, she's from Hamburg, and if in Germany your 16-year-old son or daughter says they want to learn to be a master plasterer or carpenter or cabinet maker, it's a cause for celebration. The family are proud that their youngsters want to go on and become skilled craftsmen and craftswomen. And in this country, we think there's something shameful about it. And that's a social attitude that needs to change. It really is. Please.
I would like to reinforce the point that we need to appreciate that this economy is fragile. It is easy to damage it. It's easy to make our guests, our customers, unwelcome. And there are many other competitors throughout the world who would be very glad of the business. And we need to be aware of that. We need to...
Yeah, okay, the gentleman was reiterating the point that our economy is fragile, we need as much business as we can get, and he then used a key word, absolutely key word. He said our customers. Our customers, there are plenty of other places our customers can go to, and he's right. If we treat foreign students as customers, purchasing a commercial service and not using it as an illegal route to backdoor immigration, then I'm all in favour of doing as much of it as we possibly can.
Hello, Mr. Farage. First off, thank you, just for being Mr. Farage. I would like to ask, and I have to admit it is a bit of a criticism, why have I not heard any contradiction of the black lie from the European Union that the European Union has put an end to war for the last 65 years? This is a black lie. The European Union has done nothing to end war. What ends war is the establishment of democracy. It's the establishment of democracy that puts an end to war. I ask you, or the other Nigel, wherever it is, every single person in this room, think to yourself, name yourself one democratic country that has ever declared war against another democratic country. Apart from the anomaly of Finland in the Second World War, there is none. The European Union has not put an end to war. Democracy put an end to war. And I have never heard yourself or anybody else from UKIP contradict this lie.
Well, I can assure you, sir, that I have contradicted that lie many, many times. I've done it in public in the European Parliament, and it's there on websites, on YouTube, and everything else. However, hard as I might try to counter this ludicrous assertion, I doubt that even on my best day I could do it as clearly and as eloquently as you have just done. And I really must say, not only, sir, should you join UKIP tonight, but you jolly well ought to be a candidate for us, because you're first class.
And I should say we're going to need 54 local candidates for our 21 wards in 2015.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nigel. Mr. Farage, I'd like to talk something really on the local level about pay scales for some of the senior managers, not just in Brighton County Council, but all over the country, when you're getting managers being employed by council people on hundreds of thousands of pounds per year, when there are people struggling with the bedroom tax, with food. You know, it's just ridiculous. Why are these people getting paid so much money for doing so little?
Again, you see, it's rather like the previous question. It's so well put that I can't fight you at all. I find it astonishing that we are going through a period now where we denigrate publicly in the newspapers people who've been successful in the private sector. You know, entrepreneurs that have set up companies and made a couple of million for themselves. We don't say, jolly well done, isn't that marvellous? We say, greedy, nasty, he must have broken the law, he must have done something awful. And we say it about successful insurance brokers, and we say it about all sorts of people who make big contributions towards the British economy, who provide jobs. There is a slight anti-success culture that is building in this country. And we do all of this whilst at the same time we turn a complete blind eye to the fact that under Tony Blair, we had the mass professionalisation of what used to be the independent civil service of this country, with top wages, in some cases trebling, over the course of the last 15 years, and yet nobody says a word about it. And one of the things I want for the UKIP recently elected county councillors here in East Sussex and over the border in West Sussex to do, I want them to tell the council taxpayers of the whole of Sussex how much of their money is going in over-lavish salaries, pensions and perks for people who, frankly, whilst running county councils may be important, are not directly contributing to the wealth of this nation. Let's expose it, because you're right, it's a scandal.
Farage, can I start, please, with your permission, to debunk the myth that we're all disgruntled Tories?
Yeah.
And introduce myself that in 1997 I was the constituency party secretary for the Hove Labour Party when we won that famous victory which caused Tony Blair to say, now I know we've won. And I learnt the bitter hard way that the Labour is not interested in a fair, just and equal society. They want a society where nobody is allowed to be successful. And I would like to ask you a question that I asked Tony Blair in the run-up to that election. As you know, I was a police officer in the miners' strike in 1985. And whatever the rights and wrongs of the miners' strike, I was not a police officer to be a hired thug for Margaret Thatcher or anybody else.
Right.
Assuming that we are going to win, because let's face it, we're now loonies, fruitcakes and closet winners, that when we win, we can have back a police force that serves the people of this country and not a government in office.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm perfectly happy for people to be rude to me and ask me difficult questions it's tough to answer, but it's very difficult when people keep coming up and speaking as well as that. You're quite right. You know, the police force was yet another element of independence that effectively has been taken away and politicised over the course of the last couple of decades, and so I agree utterly with your sentiment, but can I also add, please, a big thank you to the local police here tonight for turning up and making sure we can all come in and leave this hall safely. Thank you to them.
We feel proud that the English Defence League are backing you.
Are they?
We've got a personal backing from Ken Robinson.
Well, I've no idea who he is.
It's found that your supporters have exactly the same opinions as the BNP supporters.
Well, I don't think... Well, I will... Oh, yes, no, fine. Well, listen, no, hang on, that's a perfectly fair question. You're quite right. Those two university professors are very anti-UKIP and have done everything they can to try and compare the UKIP party with the BNP party and the UKIP voter with the BNP voter. But let me just tell you what the essential differences are between us and the BNP, all right? Because I think that's actually, you know, it's a better suit. Well, thank you very much. and my hair's a bit longer. Let me tell you the essential difference. Point number one, the BNP are anti-European. They literally dislike virtually everything south of Calais. They want us not just to leave political union with Europe, they want us to cut ourselves off from Europe and have nothing to do with our next door neighbours. In UKIP, we want Britain and the rest of Europe to divorce itself from this false concept of European Union, and let's have a Europe of democratic nation states trading together and being good next door neighbours. That's point number one. hang on.